I have a friend who's a couples counselor, and she works with married couples who are having trouble. And the first question she asks them before they start their session is, "Are you considering getting a divorce?" And if they're considering getting a divorce, it almost always ends up in a divorce versus those who say, "No, we're committed to making this work." And I am certainly not a couples counselor. I am, not saying anything. I just find it interesting, though, that to me, it ultimately feels like either we're looking for reasons to stick to something, we're looking for reasons to commit to something, or we're looking for reasons to not. And it's those who are committed, they're always looking, and they're only looking for reasons to make it work and how they can make it work, despite the challenges and the adversity they're going to face.
Hello, Adam, and hello, everybody out there listening. Today, what are we talking about today, Adam?
Commitment.
Oh, commitment. Commitment. It's that thing. It almost feels elusive to some of us, right? Like, how do I do it? How do I overcome whatever is between me and just committing? Like, what is wrong, right? And I told you the story before we started, but I have to maybe applaud this guy and laugh a little bit. But I got a little story. Gather round.
I'm ready.
It just makes me laugh to think about it. So I walk into the gym the other day and I'm getting ready, getting my key and my list and whatever to go up and teach my class. And I look over and there's many rows of treadmills. And on this one row, there's several people like all next to each other, walking or running, doing it. There's a man in a pair of blue jeans and a button-down shirt and dress shoes and sunglasses. I don't know why. He's walking on the treadmill. And not like leisurely either. Like he is walking on the treadmill very clearly, like committed. This is exactly what came to my mind. I'm like, I don't know the story. I don't know why, but that's some commitment.
I love it.
It stuck with me. And I just thought, you know what? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what it takes to be that commitment or that committed to something, right? Like that you're going to show up and get on the treadmill at the gym. And likely, what is his workout clothes? Maybe he just forgot to take his sunglasses off. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I've had clients in the past where they send me a picture of themselves working out in their dress shoes, so that they have their workout clothes, their shorts, their t-shirt, but they forget their sneakers, and they send me a picture of themselves in dress shoes, and it's amazing. Like, I applaud it so much. I love it because nothing is going to get in the way of them completing their workout.
Yes, exactly. But I think it's sort of like, for some people, it's like, how are you that committed? Like, how are you so committed you're going to do your workout in your dress shoes? Right? And so I think today we should break it down. I have my notes. I'm ready to go. All right. In my mind, three ingredients to being that committed. And the first one, if we don't get it just right, I think it makes it really, really hard to be committed. And that is having the right goal. And so let's talk about this because you did have a good question. You were like, but wait a minute. Okay. So first of all, having the right goal, not too big, not too small, just Goldilocks, is really, really important, right? Because the rewards have to justify your commitment. Okay. And we'll talk about that more, but so you have to have the right goal because as it turns out, Adam, and I think this is helpful to understand, commitment is actually anti-survival. And what I mean by that is we're hardwired, obviously, to avoid anything that threatens our survival. And if you think about commitment, right, like I love this example of the ideas of like the settlers, right? Like imagine you're part of like a small colony right there at the edge of the Mississippi.
That sounds so nice, by the way. It sounds so cozy.
Or maybe not diphtheria. I don't know what was going on at that time. Cozy. Okay. But two guys or two women or maybe a man and a woman, they're like, yo, we're really interested in the other side of the Mississippi and what lies beyond, right? And they get on their raft and they cross the Mississippi and keep going. And meanwhile, everybody else is just standing there like, good luck, send postcards, right? Like, that's commitment. It's also anti-survival. There was no guarantee there was anything good on the other side of the Mississippi. But these people, and it was only a handful, right? A handful, like it wasn't whole entire colonies moving across the United States to settle whatever lay beyond the Mississippi at that time, right? So they really had to go against their internal primal instincts to survive at all costs to find out what was on the other side. And there's probably a lot more science to that we won't get into. But my point is, commitment is not hardwired into human behavior. Survival is. So I say that to normalize, like, everybody struggles with commitment, but there are people out there doing it, which means you can too. I can too. Adam, you can too, right? Like, commitment is attainable to anybody and everybody. So let's just even the playing field here. Everybody can commit, but one of the most important things is finding the right goal. So Adam, you brought up a really good point when we were discussing right before we hit record. And that was what?
I don't remember.
The 5Ks. Is the 5Ks?
Oh, just, yes. So how,
races?
well, first, I'm just, as you were, I was really listening to you, and it does seem counterintuitive in a way that like commitment is anti-survival. And as you were sharing that, it made me think, like, what if we can tie commitment to our survival? Then you got something. But my point to you before we started recording was there does seem to be a lot of people who they need something to commit to. They need the race. They need the competition. They need the vacation. They need the picture, the photo shoot on their calendar, and they need that commitment. Once they have that, they're locked in. And then once it's over, like I deal with a lot of athletes. It's like once they're in season, they are so locked in, nothing can stop them. And then once the season's over, it's like a different person.
So I think where we ended up with that was, right, so that really is about finding the right goal. Because I think there's like this vastness, right, between something too short term and too like not challenging enough or not compelling enough.
Yep.
Versus forever.
Right.
Like, it is only going to be two people that commit to traipsing across this vast unknown land to see what else is out there, right? There's only one guy who's ever free soloed El Capitan. One and survived.
Right.
So it's like, that's not the goal for everybody. So I think you're right. People do want something to commit to. They want something compelling. They want outcomes that justify commitment. That's important. And for each person, it's something different. But until you find that right thing, it's really hard to commit.
Yeah.
It's hard because so much fear is involved, which is anti-survival.
Yeah. And I think, having the right goal, the right thing to commit to, the thing that gets you truly excited is so important. I'll often ask clients, why do they want to lose weight? Why do they want to improve their health? And you initially get the initial responses of, I want to be healthier or I want to feel better. And those are all great. And those are certainly core motivations in mine. But like, it didn't seem exciting to the client. And then finally we kept kind of going deeper and deeper. And her real reason was she wanted to look better than her sister-in-law. And like, once we discovered that, she was like locked in. And for her, and I'm not saying this is certainly a goal for everyone here, but once she discovered that, she's like, you know what? I just want to look better than my sister-in-law in this upcoming vacation. That is what is important to me. She was like, blinders on, nothing can stop her.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if I think back to my gym guy, like, I'm making up a story, like maybe he and his buddies had like this challenge, like, don't miss a day at the gym. And he realized he forgot his gym bag and he was like, well, what can I do in jeans and a button down and dress shoes?
Yep.
I can walk on the treadmill.
Yep.
Gym day. Check.
And bonus points for the sunglasses.
Bonus. He looked like he was having fun doing it. Or maybe he was miserable. That's why he had one. I don't know. But right. Like, it really does. In order to get committed to something, to be that committed to something, it has to be the right goal. Right. And if you're waffling on commitment, check your goal. check your goal for sure. So, okay, number one, done. Number two, prioritization, right? That's tricky because we all have a lot of goals in hand a lot of the time, right? Um, and I think the number three ingredient is going to help with prioritization as well. But you can't, you can't work with like 10 goals. It doesn't, it's not going to be, you're not going to get anywhere,
Right.
right? You're
It's
not going
like
to
the
be good at
old, if
anything.
everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. Everything's urgent, nothing's
Right.
urgent.
Right, exactly. And so like again, we'll just keep using Gym Guy because he's
Why not?
funny. Right. His commitment, his priority was get to the gym. It wasn't get to the gym in my workout clothes.
Right.
So he didn't punt that commitment to the gym day just because he didn't have the right clothes. So you really have to be like, okay, if these are my goals, and Adam, I think working with max 3 goals is probably a good thing. What do you think?
I agree. I
Yeah.
think the more, it's too many goals, too much, you're diverting your attention and focus. It's tricky.
Yeah. And so each day I would recommend like triage your goals. Like which one today is your top priority, right? And then everything else, falls in line after that. So Gym Guy, top priority, get to the gym. Don't miss a day because I have this thing going with my fellas no matter what, right? So it wasn't about the clothes. It wasn't about running late from work or whatever the deal was. Top priority was gym. He got there no matter what. And I think that really helps, right? Like once you have a clear goal, get that prioritized. And then it's do or die, frankly. I have a client who, when she finally committed to this exercise class at one point, I'll never forget this. And I just thought it was so incredible. The exercise class too was way out of her comfort zone, like so far out of her comfort zone, but we talked about it. We'd made plans for it. The day finally came. She was going to go to this class. Adam, I kid you not. I think she had a flat tire. I think work blew up. Her daughter needed her, was sick at school or something. She had to figure out how to coordinate getting a different car. It was like life was like, oh yeah, you got a commitment? Let me see. She still made the class. She still made the class.
Amazing.
Because we had found the right goal and we prioritized it. And it was do or die. It was hell or high water. I even think she had to come through high water. I think there was like pouring down rain. I could not believe it. I was like, I'm so impressed right now. This is just sheer commitment. So prioritization is a key ingredient. Do you have anything else to say about that?
As you're talking, I'm thinking about, I have a friend who's a couples counselor, and, she works with married couples who are having trouble. And the first question she asks them before they start their session is, are you considering getting a divorce? And if they're considering getting a divorce, it almost always ends up in a divorce versus those who say, no, we're committed to making this work. And I am certainly not a couples counselor. I am, not saying anything. I just find it interesting, though, that to me, it ultimately feels like either we're looking for reasons to stick to something, we're looking for reasons to commit to something, or we're looking for reasons to not. And it's those who are committed, they're always looking, and they're only looking for reasons to make it work and how they can make it work, despite the challenges and the adversity they're going to face.
Yeah. And that's a true experience of commitment, guys. Like when you commit, and I think this is why this incites fear, right? Is you're going to come up against some really tough stuff from time to time. You are going to come up against adversity, obstacles, challenges, uncomfortable stuff. Like that is built into the experience of commitment. But once you wrap your head around that and you're like, I'm doing it anyway. Cool, let's go. We're going to overcome anything that comes up. No problem.
Yep. And as you're saying that, you become the hero in your journey, right? It's not, why is this happening to me? It's, all right, here's another challenge. Here's another piece of adversity. Throw it at me. I'm ready, right? Versus the mindset of, oh, why does this have to happen? Today was supposed to be my gym day, or this, like, it's just another thing. I mean, life throws punches and curveballs at us at all times. Like we can either expect them and prepare ourselves for them and move forward, or we can just let them derail us.
Yep, absolutely. So the other key ingredient, I think, and you know, maybe there will be people who think like, nah, that like doesn't apply to me. I would venture to say we all struggle with this on some level, even some minute level. And this came up recently with a client of ours, Adam. She had emailed and asked us to talk about self-worth, which is a really big, huge topic. I'm not going to go too far into it, but I would venture to say this also impacts our level of commitment, right? Self-worth essentially being your belief that you have just as much right to take up just as much space in this life as anybody else. That your needs are not above and beyond others. They're not more important than others, but they are certainly on the same playing field. They are certainly at the same level, right? And I see it a lot. Clients struggle with, well, so and so needed me, or I needed to get home and do this, or, and there is a lot of duty, right? But I think a lot of times we confuse duty and responsibility for self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just easier to knock our needs down a notch and put others above ours. But the truth is, we're all human. We were all put on this earth, and we all deserve the same amount of space as anybody else. And it's really hard to practice that, because it does feel like, to anybody who struggles with self-worth, it feels like if you put yourself on the same level as anybody else, you feel like, oh, I'm being selfish. I'm putting my needs above others. I'm putting myself first, and that's not okay. It's not that. It's just saying, yeah, like I can take up this space too. It's okay for me to have needs as well, and to work to meet those needs just as I help to take care of others. So what do you think about self-worth being an ingredient to being that committed?
I mean, really well said. I couldn't agree more with you. And I think it certainly is a very complex, deep topic that is often, rooted in childhood, whether it's, an off comment by someone or an experience, whatever it might be. But there is no doubt, I think a lot of people hide and let other people's needs get ahead of their own, but that often leads to resentment, right? It leads to a bitterness. And, I think if you're very used to serving other people and putting other needs first, maybe one way that you can help yourself is at least say, when I take care of myself and make a little space for myself, it actually does help me be a better version of myself to serve everyone else, right? And I think that helps people who struggle with that. There's no doubt. I mean, I think if you just look at when are you a better version of yourself, it often comes with, some self-care and making that time.
Yes. Yeah. And a good exercise, I think, too, and I did this morning actually with a client, is to ask yourself, well, what would it look like if I prioritized my needs as much as I'm prioritizing everybody else's? And just a thought experiment, right? Like, I think I asked him, like, what would it look like if you prioritized your need to go to bed not feeling full because his day gets late and he wants to eat dinner with his family and this and that. And there's all sorts of taking care of other people that he does at the end of the day, and it compromises how he feels going to bed and waking up and all this stuff. I said, let's just talk through, like, what would it look like if we prioritized your need to feel light a couple hours before you go to bed? Well, that would change a lot of things. It would. Let's talk about what they would change and how hard would that be? And what if it meant like taking care of yourself? What if it meant improving your health instead of continuing down the slope we're on, right? And listen, it is not easy. It is not easy to change that kind of behavior, but that's something you can do by yourself in real time without changing a thing, is just go down the path of, what if I prioritized my needs as much as I prioritize anybody else's? What logistically and, very literally would I have to do? It's not too far off, the path you're on actually to change those things.
Totally.
So it was an interesting thought experiment. And I would encourage anybody struggling with like self-worth and self-prioritization to try it out.
Yeah. And I think an easy thing to say, but a hard thing to do. And one of the reasons why I'm such a big believer in accountability, but is start, whenever you make those little promises to yourself, commit to following through with them, right? Because it's so easy to make a promise or make an appointment with yourself, and then your boss needs you, or your kids need you, or someone needs you, and you put aside your promise or your commitment, right? It's like, all right, I'll take care of them. But what if you said, know what, I'm going to do this. Maybe I can't do it right now because there's an emergency or something is truly urgent, but you will do it at a later time. And, I think we're all really good at, I do think this is kind of in line with that, is we're very good at keeping promises to other people. But when it comes to ourselves, we often, neglect them.
Right. So if you're listening, you deserve to take up just as much space as anybody else. Your goals matter. Your commitments matter. You matter. I know that sounds cheesy. It's 100% true. And if you need to rewind this and play it back 100 times a day, do it. Okay? It works. It works. And really, like, that's how you tackle that self-worth piece, is just to start reprogramming what you say to yourself and how you treat yourself. Adam's, recommendation to follow through on those little promises, it's a game changer and it's a muscle. And the good news is, and this is where we're going next, commitment is a skill. It's a skill. It's totally something everybody can learn to do, right? And there are ways you're probably already doing it. Adam and I talked about this example. Think about the last time you started a new job. Maybe you just started a new job, right? But when you sign the contract, when you accept the position, what are you doing? Committing, right, Adam?
There's a lot of
You're committing to
uncertainty.
what?
Yep, but you're committing. You're committing to enduring the uncertainties, enduring the unknowns, enduring the adventure that is ahead of you. Because obviously, it's impossible to know exactly what you're getting into. You think you do, and hopefully, your expectations meet reality. But there's still this gap that you just don't know, and you're committing to going through that.
Right. Yeah. So everybody probably has this experience under their belt. So guess what? If you've ever accepted a job, congratulations, you've committed. You've done it already. So it's within your wheelhouse to do, right? So, and I think if we view commitment as a skill, it makes it a lot more accessible. Like it makes me think, oh, that's not only something I can learn to do, but I can get better at. And you want to get better at it because, well, who doesn't want to be better at commitment? It makes life easier. It makes you more resilient. It helps you grow. You're going to experience more fun, more enlightening things in your life. But it's also important because we know life doesn't ever go the way we really want it to, because that's not how life works. And you've got to develop skills within commitment to pivot and punt and figure out, like, okay, how do I maintain this commitment without totally letting down, situations I can't control for. Again, kind of hearkening back to a couple weeks ago when I had that family emergency, and it was like, oh, I have to cancel my entire schedule for the next week and get on a plane. Just leave life behind. Mm-hmm. But I didn't, Adam, I didn't give up my commitment to taking care of myself. And this is not something I would have always done. I have had to practice this, right? People we work with practice this. This was a skill. It was like, okay, still committed to health. So what does that look like? Okay, packing workout clothes. On the plane, I made a grocery list and a meal plan because I was like, we got to eat.
Yep.
we got to eat. And then it was like, how am I going to get to the grocery store? Well, what sources of support can I put into place so I can get to the grocery store? Can I ask somebody to go to the grocery store for me? And then it was also thinking through, when am I going to have time to myself? Because that's important for me. And also preparing myself for the hard stuff. I was going to be, awake during the night, helping my mom, different things like that. So it was kind of preparing myself mentally. And that is all part of my commitment practice when it comes to taking care of myself and my health.
I love it. I mean, I think the fact that, that speaks, that is what commitment is, right? There's going to be hard parts. There's going to be really uncomfortable parts. There's going to be things that throw you off your routine, but you go through it anyway, right? I mean, that's what commitment is. And, as you said, the other side of commitment and sticking with a commitment in and of itself is such a wonderful feeling, right? Because of course, when we back out of a commitment, it doesn't feel good, right? And I think that's where it all starts, going back to number one of having the worthwhile goal, having the commitment, committing to something that truly makes you excited, that truly you can get behind no matter what.
Yes. Yeah. The number one piece is the most crucial. You got to have the right goal. And if that's something you struggle with, well, don't worry. We all struggle with that. We've all committed to things and thought, oh my God, why did I commit to that? Right? Like, I know as a parent, Adam, I'm sure you get it. You're like, why did I commit to 4 sports
Right.
things in the fall?
Yes.
You know? All right. Well, anything else we want to add on here, or are we ready to wrap this up?
I think we covered commitment in depth. I'm just trying to think if there's anything, I mean, we talked about how it is a skill, and it is a skill. And like, I think, this isn't one of those things you're either born with it or you either have it or you don't. You can absolutely practice it. And it's start small. Start with the little promises you make to yourself. Create little commitments, right? It could just be simply going for a walk. You commit to going for a walk every day this week or this weekend. But I think, actually, I know keeping true to the promises you make to yourself and others is really, really powerful. And I think that's an easy way to build that commitment muscle.
Yes, definitely. And why might we want to practice commitment, Adam?
I think that is the only way to get to where you want to be in any facet of life. I mean, if you look at any success you've gone through and had an experience, I mean, you committed to get there. So I think that's the only way. How about you?
Yeah, I think back to like, okay, is the cave gonna be my life? Right? Like, I don't want to be in the cave forever, right? I want to commit to stepping outside the door one day and looking around. And then maybe I commit to taking a walk. And then maybe I commit to seeing what's beyond, yonder patch of grass or whatever, right? Like, me, I love analogies.
Yes.
But I think about that, right? Like, refusing to learn how to commit means being stuck in a cave for your entire life.
Yes.
To me, that is terrifying. So I'd rather face the fear and adversity I know is going to come with commitment, and just get good at that.
Yeah. A thing I've recently committed to is embracing discomfort whenever possible. Right. And that's just a commitment, right? So it could just be, we have an opportunity to feel uncomfortable and either we take it or we don't. And that's something I've been really practicing on because I feel like we're in this comfort crisis, and perhaps this could be fodder for another podcast video. But to me, it comes down to when that voice in my head is like, you'll do it tomorrow. I refuse to negotiate with myself because I know where that's going to lead and I don't like it.
Interesting. All right, Adam. So here's your task to share on our next recording. Make note of some of these times. Make note of some of these moments where you face that discomfort. I'd love to hear some more details on that. I know our listeners would too. And yeah, let's talk about it next time.
Sounds
Comfort
great.
crisis. Sounds like a cafe. Maybe.
A cafe. Interesting name for a cafe.
Well, something. We'll see.
A cozy comfort crisis.
with the settlers.
Exactly.
On the edge of the Mississippi. All right, guys, that's enough. That's enough. Let us know your thoughts about commitment. Do you see anybody in the gym dressed in a way that might suggest to you they have 100% committed to exercise and fitness no matter what? Let us know. And of course, take care of yourself, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. See you then.